Tonight's top stories. Various government agencies each do their part to ensure that all needs by those affected by the strong earthquake are met. All necessary services are provided. The Philippine National Police or PNP continues its probe on the incident which led to the deaths of two Ateneo de Manila University basketball players. All these and more on PTV News Tonight. Good evening. Welcome to PTV News Tonight. Government money spent wisely and correctly ends in a work product that benefits all in the community and for generations to come. A simple but profound sentiment the president expressed in this morning's inspection of a newly made-over set of school buildings housing 60 classrooms that will put an end to double-shift class schedules and poor student learning. PTV senior correspondent Kenneth Paciente has more on the president's ocular of the new-look San Francisco High School in Quezon City.
The Dao building of San Francisco High School was reduced to ashes after it was gutted by fire in June 2025. As a result, all the equipment inside every classroom could no longer be used. But after just less than a year, this is now the look of the newly constructed building, after President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ordered its rehabilitation be expedited. Earlier, he returned to the site and expressed delight over the school building's new look. From the previous two-story building with only 10 classrooms, it has now been transformed into a 4-story building with 36 classrooms, allowing more students to benefit.
Ang pinakamaganda rin dito ay yung natapos itong construction na ito in 8 months. At malaking bagay ito dahil nais kong ipakita. Kapag ang pera ng gobyerno ay ginagamit sa tama, ito yung kaya nating gawin. It should demonstrate very clearly what can be achieved when funding is used properly. It does not go into people's pockets but goes directly towards these important projects such as this.
The classroom have also been upgraded with improved student chairs, better ventilation, and television sets. To prevent a fire like the one that happened last year, the building now includes safety features such as fire sprinklers, not only in the hallways but also inside every classroom. To help prevent accidents among students, non-slip flooring was also used. The new Nara building donated by a private company was also formally turned over. It has 24 classrooms. According to the president, these will greatly help improve students' class scheduling.
Ang pinakamalaking bagay dito ay hindi na sila nagdo-double shift. Ang mga bata nakakauwi ng alas 3, alas 4. Ganon din yung ating mga guro na imbis na umuwi ng alas 7, alas 8 ng gabi ay nakakauwi na sila kagaya ng normal na estudyante, which is in the afternoon.
Freshman students are now more motivated to study.
Mas lalo po akong nakaka-focus kasi po sobrang comfortable ng environment.
Ang ganda ng pagkakagawa ng table. Di na namin kailangan yumuko pa kasi yung dating structure ng table natin, yung space desk niya is nasa ilalim. So bali hindi na namin kailangan yumuko pa, dudukutin na namin sa ilalim ng table. Ang spacious na ng area namin.
According to DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon, the building is compliant with the building code. It is also seismic rated, meaning it can withstand an earthquake of magnitude 7 or higher. He added that this may serve as a template to address the backlog in classrooms across the country, especially since it was completed quickly.
Nagbibigay ito ng inspirasyon sa amin sa DPWH na kung kayang gawin dito, kayang gawin sa buong Pilipinas to. No, 8 months to nagawa. No, dapat to 12 months. Pero natapos 4 months ahead. 8 months nagawa na to. At hindi talaga shortcut. Maayos ang pagkagawa.
A view shared by DepEd.
Depende na siguro sa lugar yan, depende na rin sa district engineer, sa magsusupervise, sa contractor. Pero tama si Sec Vince, ito'y modelong construction at sana maulit ito sa maraming lugar.
Kenneth Paciente for the Nation.
In the meantime, with only 22 active senators, the quorum count may be reconsidered. But the case is different when it comes to the votes required for conviction in an impeachment trial, such as the case against Vice President Sara Duterte. That's still 2/3 of all the 24 senators, as stressed by President pro tempore Sherwin Gatchalian. Bernard Ferrer tells us more.
16 votes are still required to convict Vice President Sara Duterte in the impeachment trial. This was emphasized by Senate President pro tempore Sherwin Gatchalian in the discussions regarding the Senate quorum. According to Gatchalian, Article 11, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution clearly states that no public official may be convicted in the impeachment trial without the concurrence of 2/3 of all the members of the Senate. With the Senate composed of 24 members, he said 16 votes are required for conviction, and this number will not change regardless of how many senators are present during the trial. The pre-trial conference is scheduled for June 18, while the camp of Vice President Duterte and the House Prosecution Panel have been directed to submit their pre-trial briefs before June 15. The formal trial is set to begin on July 6. Gatchalian also maintained that he will serve as a presiding officer of the impeachment trial in his capacity as Senate President pro tempore. However, the name of Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan has emerged as one of the possible candidates to preside over the impeachment proceedings against Vice President Duterte. Discussion have arisen over the possibility of appointing a lawyer senator to oversee the trial. According to Gatchalian, the Senate preparations for the impeachment proceedings are continuing, including the issuance of pre-trial notices.
Yes, I signed the notice for pre-trial yesterday. So pinadala na namin yan both to the defense and the prosecution team. And the next step, they will send us their pre-trial brief containing the items in the pre-trial notice. So na-meet ko na rin yung ginawang pre-trial, ginawang impeachment internal team para to make sure that preparations are in order.
Bernard Ferrer for The Nation.
As the Senate prepares for the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, officials are clarifying the constitutional requirements for a conviction. The chamber maintains that a 2/3 vote of all senators is needed, regardless of attendance during the proceedings. Bernard Ferrer tells us more.
An armed group may be behind a potential security threat to the Senate. This was confirmed by Senate President pro tempore Sherwin Gatchalian following reports of a security threats against the upper chamber based on information relayed by NBI Director Melvin Matibag. According to Gatchalian, the threat may be linked to the 18 former bodyguards of resigned Representative Saldico. He directed the Office of the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms or OSAA to coordinate with various law enforcement agencies to verify and investigate the reported threat.
May mga personalities na na-mention ang NBI. But hindi ko muna sasabihin, no, because we're investigating and validating. So we're cross-referencing it also with other intelligence agencies.
Gatchalian assured the public that the safety and security of Senate employees, senators, and members of the Senate media remain the institution's top priority. Among the measures being implemented are a 2-day work-from-home arrangement, as well as heightened security measures and preventive safety protocols. This include continuous security sweeps, stricter screening procedures, expanded surveillance operations, and other security protocols. The memorandum also outlines measures to protect and preserve Senate records, legislative documents, information systems, and communication infrastructure.
If ever lang pasukin yung Senado, we just want to make sure that yung mga records natin intact. Marami doon ay wealth of knowledge and discussions in the past, no? Marami rin doon mga executive session files nandoon din. So we just want to make sure na walang mawawala ng records. No?
A temporary no-visitor policy is likewise being enforced within the Senate. The OSAA, in coordination with the Philippine National Police, has intensified its presence to ensure security both inside and outside the Senate complex. Meanwhile, checks and automatic debit arrangements have already been processed to ensure the timely release of salaries, efficiency incentives, and other employee benefits while security operations remain ongoing. The release of the Senators' maintenance and other operating expenses, or MOOE, is also being facilitated. The promotions of 8 Senate employees have already been approved and signed. Bernard Ferrer for The Nation.
Amid what they call a diabolical division infecting the Senate, a coalition of faith-based groups and religious leaders issued an urgent call for a fair and independent impeachment trial for Vice President Sara Duterte, warning that internal political turmoil is already tainting senator judges with bias. Sheila Natividad has more.
It is possessed Some of our senators, you look at their behavior, they are possessed.
This was the statement of Father Robert Reyes, member of the Clergy for Good Governance, after the Kingdom Keepers, a group of organizations and religious leaders, expressed their position on the current situation in the Senate amid the upcoming impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. According to them, following the recent change in Senate leadership and alleged factions within the chamber, some religious groups and members of the public have raised concerns, including claims that some senators may already be showing bias in favor of the Vice President due to political alliances.
So what is diabolical? Unless the division is resolved somehow, the Senate will continue to spread decomposition throughout the land.
In a statement, Lanao del Sur 1st District Representative and House Trial Spokesperson Representative Zia Alonto Adyong said internal divisions among senators should not lead to public confusion. The House Prosecution Spokesperson also said it would not help the public if there were two Senate impeachment courts recognizing different leaderships. Meanwhile, both the Palace and the House of Representatives recognized the appointment of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian as the new Senate President pro tempore and acting Senate President forum and change in Senate leadership. Lawmakers say they are acting in representation of the institution of the House. Meanwhile, religious groups say they believe the House prosecution panel has sufficient evidence for the upcoming impeachment trial of the Vice President.
Now, I hope yun ang mga prosecutors, no? Maging defender of truth, magbigay kaliwanagan sa sambayang Pilipino. At kung talagang may rason si VP Sara, dapat humarap siya.
On June 15, both sides are set to submit their pre-trial briefs, while on June 18, the pre-trial conference for the impeachment case of Vice President will begin. Groups are calling for justice to be done forthwith. Sheila Natividad for The Nation.
A little over 48 hours after the monster quake hit the Soc-Sargen region, the country's consoler-in-chief came to provide comfort, hope, and much-needed relief and assistance, which bore quake's damage in his visit. The president inspected the state of the General Santos City High School and a nearby hospital and vowed continued provision of relief and damage assessment. As we hear this report from our Clezo Pardilia.
For 10 years, Norilyn has been selling fish at a market here in General Santos City after the magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck Monday. With its epicenter in Maasim, Sarangani, vendors were temporarily barred from selling inside the market. As a result, meeting their daily needs has become a major challenge. In response, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. immediately directed the Department of Social Welfare and Development to provide assistance to those affected. He personally visited General Santos City to distribute aid, and Norilyn was one of those who benefited.
Para mo palengke di na may baligya kay di man pasulon kay bawalan mi.
During his visit to Mindanao, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. inspected General Santos City National High School. It is the largest public high school in General Santos City with more than 10,000 students. Due to the strength of the earthquake, two school buildings can no longer be used.
Kagabi, finalize namin yung aming learning continuity plan kasi hindi pwedeng ang mga bata ay babalik sa purely modular kasi alam namin kung ano yung epekto. So what we did last night is we're going to employ the MISOSA, yung modified learning na kasi at present ma'am we are having our yung double shift. So ngayon, ang aming mga special programs naka-whole day po sila. So maapektuhan po yung aming mga special programs. Gagawin po namin silang i-double shift na rin namin sila so that yung mga grade 9 students namin will occupy in the afternoon will occupy their rooms, including our grade 7.
The school continues to find ways to ensure that students can continue their education despite the disaster. President Marcos Jr. directed the Department of Health or DOH to assist in conducting psychological assessment for students and teachers, given the trauma they have experienced.
Sinabi ko sa kanila, alalahanin nila na traumatizing itong experience para sa mga estudyante, para sa mga bata. So bantayan din nila. We have a program sa DOH na tutulong sa mental health ng mga bata na dumaan sa ganitong klaseng experience. Kasi kahit kuminsan hindi nagsasabi yung bata, kailangan, sabi ko, bantayan. May nakita kayo na nangangailangan ng tulong, pwede naman kami pwede naman kami tumulong sa DOH. Yung mga teacher mismo, ang gagawin nila, meron silang training after this. Magte-training sila para diyan, precisely para makausap, provide a little therapy sa ating mga estudyante.
According to the president, assessments are also continuing in other establishments across the city to determine the full extent of the damage caused by the earthquake. The Office of Civil Defense earlier identified General Santos City as one of the areas most severely affected by the tremor.
We are also working to very quickly open lahat ng mga daanan para kahit saan makapasok na yung mga sasakyan natin, magdala ng tulong, mag-ayos ng mga electricity, ng mga water system, at mabilis na ang pagdala ng serbisyo dito. So that's the situation right now, and we hope we will not feel any more aftershocks, and we can continue to work to bring whatever the needs are of those who were victimized by this earthquake.
The president also visited a private hospital in General Santos City. The hospital sustained damage with several office walls collapsing due to the force of the earthquake. Broken doors and glass windows were also scattered across the floor.
So we're still trying to find ways. Sabi ko nga, let's face it muna on a day-to-day basis. No? But for sure, I can assure the community that we will rise from these ashes. No? We will rise again because I know how resilient the Sehi community is. No?
President Marcos also met with General Santos City Mayor Lorely Pacquiao to discuss the needs of residents affected by the earthquake.
Tulong na binibigay natin, magbibigay tayo sa nabigyan ko si Mayor, nabigyan ko ng 100 milyong piso from the LGSF para maayos yung kanilang City Hall, yung sa General Santos City Hall. At lahat ng pamilya nang meron silang casualty na biktima, nasawi, ay magbibigay tayo ng tig 50,000 para sa kanila, para sa tulong doon sa kanilang naging malapit sa kanila na namatay.
The government's response efforts continue. Personnel from the Bureau of Fire Protection are working to recover this victim, trapped inside a collapsed structure 2 days after the magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck Sarangani province. 21 bodies have already been recovered by the BFP in Malapatan, Sarangani, and General Santos City. Search and rescue operations by the BFP are still ongoing. According to the NDRRMC, death toll has risen to 45 following the earthquake. Nearly 500 people have been injured. 17 remain missing. Aboard the BRP Panglao, hundreds of boxes of food, water, and hygiene kits were loaded and delivered by the Philippine Coast Guard to Sarangani province. It aims to ensure that victims of the powerful earthquake do not go hungry.
Ayan po ang inuna ng Pangulo na ang mga kababayan natin na walang matirahan ay maaari sila munang manatili sa evacuation centers at sa mga provided na tents na sinasabi po ng DSWD. So, hindi po ito pababayaan.
Around 20,000 food packs from the government are now being transported to Sorgen. The shipment also includes water filtration equipment, clothing, and other form of assistance. More aid is expected through the government's air asset to reach remote communities.
Kahit po yung mga malalayong lugar at yung mga lugar na hindi po naaabot ng mga sasakyan natin sa ngayon dahil nasarahan po at nagkaroon ng landslide, nagawan po nila ng paraan para maabot po ang mga kababayan natin.
Kalezal Pardilia for the Nation.
Following the magnitude 7.8 earthquake in Mindanao, DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon ordered the mobilization of both public and private equipment to fast-track the repair of damaged roads, especially in Glan, Sarangani, where major highways were severely affected. He said urgent repairs are needed to restore access and ensure the delivery of aid to isolated communities. Meanwhile, DepEd Secretary Sani Angara said in-person classes in affected areas will not resume until the safety of school buildings is verified. The Department of Education reported that more than 1,000 schools were affected by the earthquake, including about 150 totally damaged classrooms, and plans to intensify earthquake preparedness training for teachers and students.
Kahit gaano ka dami mong beses mo i-practice, pag nangyayari na talaga, nagtatakbuhan pa rin sila kahit ang instruction sila maglakad lang at sunod-sunod ang paglakad. Minsan hindi nasusunod yung mga earthquake drills.
The Philippine government is stepping up its response to a Chinese floating platform spotted at Scarborough Shoal as officials continue to monitor activities in the area. Authorities maintain that any unauthorized structure within Bajo de Masinloc violates Philippine sovereignty and international law. The full report from Patrick De Jesus.
This is a clearer image of the semi-permanent structure spotted in Scarborough Shoal or Bajo de Masinloc. The National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea presented this after several weeks of monitoring. On May 21, 2 Chinese research vessels were monitored at the southeast entrance of Bajo de Masinloc. Following this, the floating platform was observed on May 25 through satellite imagery and was confirmed during a maritime domain awareness flight conducted by the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources the following day. Since May 28, the Philippine Coast Guard and the Armed Forces of the Philippines have been conducting daily aerial monitoring of the platform's presence in Bajo de Masinloc. But Chinese helicopters and fighter jets have repeatedly harassed these operations. The Philippines continues to conduct patrols in the area. 6 individuals were seen on the position within the lagoon is regularly being moved with the help of 2 service boats. An antenna was also spotted nearby, while the number of buoys inside and outside the reef has increased to 4. The Philippines has already filed several diplomatic protests against China to assert that the placement of the floating platform is illegal.
Only the Philippines has the right to place or construct structures and conduct activities in Bajo de Masinloc. The continued presence of the semi-permanent floating platform without consent or authorization is not only a violation of the sovereignty and jurisdiction of the Philippines, but is also inconsistent with international law. We therefore urge China to withdraw and remove the platform and structures from Bajo de Masinloc.
From a simple fisherman's shelter in the 1990s, Mischief Reef or Panganiban Reef, occupied by China, has become one of the largest military bases in the West Philippine Sea. According to the NTF-WPS, it remains speculative whether reclamation activities are already taking place in Scarborough Shoal, which China has declared as a nature reserve. For now, authorities said the floating platform's presence could merely be part of illegal marine scientific research, with the 2 Chinese research vessels still in the area, but no dredging vessel has been spotted.
The mere fact that what we are seeing there are all Chinese research vessels and there are no presence of PLA Navy vessels there, I would like to put it that way. I think this is still a civilian, illegal MSR that is being conducted.
In a statement, the Chinese embassy maintained that their activities in Scarborough Shoal are part of China's sovereignty and reiterated that they do not recognize the 2016 arbitral award favoring the Philippines. The NTF-WPS insisted that all legal measures will be pursued against the floating platform.
The nightmare of Mischief Reef is still there, okay? That's why the position of our government basically, nandun yung ating presidente, we will not lose an even inch. Basically, it's a lessons learned. That's why we are saying that the Philippines will do everything it can based on international law, based on diplomacy, and based on our national interest.
The integrity of the national territory will remain. That will include monitoring right now developments on Bajo de Masinloc, and we are closely monitoring that through an interagency effort.
The government will continue verifying the purpose of the floating platform found in Scarborough Shoal, prompting regular patrols by Philippine assets in the area, as well as in other parts of the West Philippine Sea. Patrick De Jesus for The Nation.
Amidst the controversy surrounding the tragic death of two Ateneo basketball athletes, the Philippine National Police, or PNP, has confirmed their cause of death, which happened during a team-building activity at the resort in Dapakulao, Aurora. The authorities ruled out foul play, but the investigation on the possible liability of the coaching staff continues, as Ryan Lisigas tells us the full report.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has released its finding on the cause of death of basketball athlete Rene Batermonia. Based on the medical legal examination, Batermonia died of asphyxia by drowning. Following a backtracking investigation, the PNP determined that the group's team-building activity began at a resort in Barangay Libis, Dipakulao, Aurora at around 2:30 p.m. on Monday, June 8. Authorities said the water level in the area where the training was being conducted was only waist deep. However, Batermonia and fellow basketball athlete Divine Adili were allegedly swept away by the strong undertow. It took rescuers nearly 40 minutes to recover the bodies of the two victims, which were found only about 10 meters away from the shoreline. The PNP reiterated that there is no indication of foul play in the deaths of the two athletes. Investigators said that based on the sworn statements of MDRRMO personnel and lifeguards who responded to the incident, no weights or other objects used as weights were found on any part of the victims' bodies. However, authorities said the investigation is still ongoing.
Yung pong unang initial na result ng ating investigasyon nga, narinig nyo naman sa ating provincial director, na they're ruling out foul play. And as to the negligence of anybody or yung liability po ng kasino mang partido, ay ito po'y malalaman natin once the investigation has been completed.
According to the PNP, investigators are now looking into the possible liability of the coaching staff. Authorities said that upon the group's arrival at the resort, staff members had already identified the safe area of the sea. However, the coaching staff allegedly requested that they not be interfered with during their activity.
Base po sa resort management, sila po ay doon po sila sa may tabing dagat at hindi po nila pinapakialaman yung activity kasi nga po humihingi yung grupo ng maging private yung lakad nila. Kaya po hindi po natin masasabi kung ano po nangyari sa kanila doon sa may tabing dagat.
Batermonia, 19, was known as a cheerful young athlete with big dreams for the future. At a young age, he had already shown exceptional talent in basketball. In 2025, he led the Davao Region Eagles to their first ever basketball gold medal at the 2025 Palarong Pambansa. He was also a member of the Philippine boys basketball team that competed in the 14th ASEAN School Games held in Brunei.
Wala pong magiging takipan, kagaya po ng sinabi natin, everything will be made transparent. Ilalabas po ang resulta ng investigation.
The PNP assured the public that the investigation is far from over and that authorities continue to gather all possible evidence to fully determine the circumstances surrounding the incident. Ryan Lisigas for The Nation.
The Treasury Bureau successfully raised a total of 35.9 billion pesos. This through the partial award of reissued Treasury bonds or T-bonds last Tuesday, with 2 tranches included in the auction. The reissued 3-year and 8-year T-bonds, the 3-year T-bond, which was 1.3 times oversubscribed with 37.5 billion pesos in total tenders, fetched an average rate of 7.307%. The auction committee accepted 27.6 billion pesos, which was below the 30 billion peso program. Meanwhile, the reissued 8-year T-bond was awarded at an average rate of 7.580%. From the total bids of 20.9 billion pesos for this tender, the Bureau raised 8.3 billion pesos. The total outstanding volumes for the 3-year and 8-year T-bonds now stand at 213 billion and 130 billion pesos respectively. In the meantime, the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Trade and Industry conducted an inspection today at the Guadalupe Public Market to ensure that vendors are complying with existing price caps. The inspection formed as part of the government's continuing monitoring efforts to protect consumers and prevent unreasonable price increases. Meanwhile, both agencies assure the public that there have been no significant movements in the prices of basic commodities and other essential goods. Our J.M. Thompson has the details in this report.
The joint monitoring efforts of the Department of Agriculture or DA and the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI in public markets continues to ensure that stores are complying with the prices set in the market. Today, personnel from the DA and DTI inspected the Guadalupe Public Market. During their inspection of rice retailers, no violations were recorded as the vendors were complying with the set price of 50 pesos for imported rice. Retailers in the market reportedly have a 100% compliance rate, while compliance across Metro Manila stands at 80% based on their latest data. In their continuing inspections of rice retailers, 36 were issued notices of violation and only 13 of them responded and provided explanations.
Dahil nga po 13 lang ang sumagot sa kanila, it will be up to the adjudication officers on whether they will give an extension or whether they will proceed on resolving it.
Reason given was their suppliers were selling at higher prices. The price cap on imported rice is expected to end this Friday. Officials of the Department of Agriculture and the National Price Coordinating Council or NPCC will also meet with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. tomorrow to determine whether the price cap in the markets should be extended.
We do not want to preempt any decision that will be made by the President, but so far the DA is recommending for the extension of the price cap. But DA is only recommendatory. It will still be up to the NPCC, the National Price Coordinating Council, to recommend to the President.
Meanwhile, the DTI assures the public that there have been no major movements in the prices of basic commodities. However, due to the ongoing crisis in the Middle East that has affected oil prices, the price of canned sardines has increased slightly. Other than this, no other products have registered price increases. DTI Secretary Maria Cristina Roque encourages consumers to refer to the price guides available in the markets and on the agency's official Facebook page. The DTI and DA also ensure their continuous monitoring efforts to prevent price manipulation and protect consumers. J.M. Thompson, for the Nation.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, has extended the deadlines for tax filing, tax payments, and document submissions in earthquake-affected areas of General Santos City, Sarangani, and South Cotabato. Under Revenue Memorandum Circular issued on Tuesday, all deadlines falling between June 8 and June 29, 2026 have been moved to June 30, 2026. The BIR said taxpayers covered by the circular will not incur penalties, surcharges, or interest, provided that their tax returns, payments, and required documents are submitted within the extended period. The elderly community does not shrivel up, lay down, and die, but rather a formidable sector whose productivity can be tapped to chip in substantially to the economy. Hence, the ASEAN is keen on policy making that promotes and empowers the aging population that forms a nation's silver economy, as we hear more from this Gab Humilde Villegas feature report.
The PTV News team caught up with 61-year-old retired photojournalist Charlene, who was busy preparing for the upcoming opening of her bakery in their area in Quezon City. According to Charlene, she wants to have a source of income to help with daily expenses and to save for her personal needs such as purchasing maintenance medicines. She added that there are barriers that make it difficult for senior citizens like her to find employment.
It's always that. They always think that when you're old, you can't keep up.
Charlene is just one of those who can be considered part of our country's silver economy. The ASEAN High-Level Forum on Unlocking the Silver Economy was recently held here in the Philippines in Pasay City, aiming to promote policies and investments that empower the elderly and enrich their contribution to economic growth and development. In his speech, Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian urged ASEAN nations to prioritize the growing elderly population by building a more inclusive and sustainable silver economy.
Silver economy is something thought a niche market for aging populations. In reality, it is far bigger than that. It is about whether ASEAN can become a region is matched by longer opportunity, longer dignity, and longer participation.
The Secretary also mentioned that the region is currently experiencing a major demographic shift, wherein, according to data, by the year 2030, 14.8% of the ASEAN population is expected to be aged 60 and above, and by 2035, the number of senior citizens in the region is expected to reach 127 million. Meanwhile, DSWD spokesperson Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao explained that unlocking the silver economy is important for the Philippines and its neighboring ASEAN countries.
Yung mga ASEAN member states kasi nakaka-experience ng longer life expectancies. Ang nagde-decline nga yung fertility rates. Kaya compressed yung ating time frame para makapaghanda para sa aging population. So ginagawa natin itong forum dyan nga sa PICC para i-shift natin yung narrative.
The high-level forum also discussed its thematic clusters such as lifelong learning, investment technology, and financing. The Secretary also called on various sectors in the region to cooperate for the well-being of the elderly.
The demographic future of our region demands cooperation across borders and across sectors. Governments alone cannot build the silver economy. The private sector will drive innovation.
This is also part of pursuing the country's priorities led by the DSWD as part of its ASEAN ASCC Council Chairship this year. Gab Humilde Villegas for The Nation.
And we'll have more news after these reminders. Stay with us.
Stay up to date on His Excellency President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s actions and initiatives this week as he leads the country in nation building. PBBM at work. Susunod sa schoolmates. GE o General Education subjects sa kolehiyo. Dapat na bang bawasan? Let the arguments fly between the students of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines and Adamson University.
Why not transfer the GE courses in senior high school and then improve the quality so that we can somehow avoid repetition and inefficiency?
We cannot sacrifice the quality of education that we're already lacking just for efficiency.
Ikaw, what's your hot take? Tutok na sa Schoolmates. Webes ng gabi, dito lang sa PTV. Disaster Watch. Mga paalala habang lumilindol. Kapag lumilindol, mag-duck, cover, and hold. Maging mahinahon at humanap ng matibay na bagay na magsisilbing panangga sa posibleng pagbagsak ng debris. Magtago at protektahan ang sarili. Kumapit ng mahigpit at hintaying matapos ang pagyanig. Lumayo sa mga salamin at bintana. Kapag nasa labas ng tahanan o gusali, umiwas sa mga poste, puno at mga landslide-prone areas. Kung nasa sasakyan, huminto at tumabi sa isang ligtas na lugar. Sa panahon ng sakuna, dapat laging listo.
Ama naming mapagmahal, ipinapanalangin po namin ang aming mga kababayan na lubos na naapektuhan ng lindol sa Mindanao. Yakapin mo po sila ng iyong pagkalinga. Pagkalooban mo sana sila ng lakas at pag-asa sa gitna ng pagsubok at pangamba. Gabayan mo ang aming mga rescuer, first responder, volunteer at mga lingkod ng pamahalaan upang maging ligtas at matulungan ang mga nangangailangan. Paghariin mo po ang pagkakaisa at malasakit sa sambayan ng Pilipino upang kami makabangon ng sama-sama. Ito ang aming dalangin sa iyong banal na pangalan. Amen.
Disaster Watch. Alamin ang mga dapat ilagay sa go bag bilang paghahanda sa sakuna. Maglagay ng tubig na maiinom at mga pagkaing hindi madaling masira. Maglaan ng espasyo para sa first aid kit at survival kit para sa mga hindi inaasahang pangyayari. Huwag kalimutan ang toiletries para mapanatili ang kalinisan ng katawan. Samahan din ng mga damit at beddings na magtatagal ng ilang araw. At para ligtas at may alam, magdala ng mga teknikal na gamit. Sa panahon ng kalamidad, dapat laging listo.
Lanao del Sur 1st District Representative Zia Alonto Adyong, who also serves as a House trial spokesperson, challenged the camp of Vice President Sara Duterte to present Mary Grace Piatos during the hearings of the Vice President's impeachment case. According to Adyong, it would be better for public clarity if Mary Grace Piatos were presented in the proper forum so that allegations linked to the confidential funds controversy could be verified. The lawmaker emphasized that the prosecution's objective is to establish the truth through the proper trial process and the examination of relevant allegations. Adyong added that if a witness connected to the documents appears, the individual may be subjected to forensic examination of signatures and other evidence before the impeachment court. In the meantime, San Juan City Representative Isabel Zamora, member of the House Prosecution Panel, clarified that arraignment and pre-trial are separate proceedings in the upcoming impeachment case of Vice President Sara Duterte. The clarification came after Representative Joel Chua, also a member of the panel, pointed out that no date has yet been set for the arraignment in the impeachment trial. Meanwhile, Zamora explained that the purpose of the pre-trial is to allow both parties to identify and organize their documents, evidence, and witnesses in advance to help streamline the trial, which is set to begin on June 18. According to Zamora, the Senate Impeachment Court has already issued a notice of pre-trial in accordance with the Senate rules on impeachment, and the House prosecutors expect to participate in the pre-trial conference on the scheduled date.
The Office of the Ombudsman is expecting the appearance of 18 alleged bagmen at the agency on June 11. This according to Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano. Clavano said additional appearances are also scheduled for July 15 and 16. He added that the Ombudsman's team is prepared to interview the individuals and hear their testimonies. According to Clavano, investigators will evaluate the information provided and determine which claims may be used in the investigation and which may lack sufficient credibility or supporting evidence. Earlier, Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Rimulya emphasized that each individual should submit a separate affidavit to formally support their allegations. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has set the schedule for the special elections in Dasmariñas, Cavite. This to replace expelled former Representative Kiko Barzaga, while simultaneously pushing forward with preparations for the November 2 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections despite pending proposals to postpone it. Carlo Luis Candelaria details this report.
The special elections to choose a new representative for Dasmariñas, Cavite has been set for August 29, following the expulsion of former Representative Kiko Barzaga. According to COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia, the calendar of activities for the special elections will be released tomorrow, which will announce the filing of candidacy, campaign and election periods, the gun ban, and other related activities. Chairman Garcia said he has already written to the President to request assistance regarding the funding for the Cavite special elections, which is expected to cost over 190 million pesos. Garcia added that a manual election system will be implemented in Dasmariñas.
Hindi naman ganun kahaba ang balota. Depende of course kung ilan yung mga kandidato. Pero syempre, dahil manual election ito, isang pangalan lang naman ang isusulat sa mga balota na ibibigay sa mga botante natin.
Meanwhile, COMELEC is pushing forward with its preparations for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, or BSKE, on November 2. The said election will push through despite pending proposals in the House of Representatives to postpone it again. According to Chairman Garcia, they still need to print additional ballots to accommodate the increase in the number of registered voters.
Sa kasalukuyan, ang batas, may election tayo sa November 2. At kami ay naandun pa rin sa rurok ng ating pag-prepare para sa November 2 Barangay and SK elections.
Carlo Luis Candelaria for The Nation.
The prime suspect in the hit-and-run incident in the South Luzon Freeway, which inadvertently sideswiped a highway patrol officer and put him and his motorbike down on the road, is in the custody of the police after voluntarily giving himself up this morning to Marikina police. 21-year-old Gen Zer and Filipino-Indian Manjot Singh admits he unintentionally grazed the HPG officer on the road, who fell from his bike after contact and sustained injuries from the fall. Though Singh apologized and expressed contrition for his reckless move, he apparently did not stop to help the victim he hit, but instead drove away, then even tried to have the mark or ding on his car removed. But HPG backtracking efforts and cyber patrolling identified his car's plates, his address, which would have eventually led to his arrest had he not given himself up. Singh, who still lives with his parents, expressed heartfelt regret and apologies to the HPG officer he hit and injured, but did nothing to stop the filing of charges against him. And in other news, access to affordable collegiate learning has just been expanded with the inauguration of the latest school building in the campus of the country's largest open university. Our Elijah Canlas took his team to Santa Mesa, Manila to cover today's inauguration ritual by officials of the Department of Budget and Management.
The Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, led the inspection of the newly completed 4-story building of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, or PUP Open University in Manila. In over 3 decades of the Open University's operation, it had no dedicated facility. According to Budget Secretary Kim Robert De Leon, the 185 million peso project is a crucial investment by the Marcos Jr. administration to expand affordable college education in the country.
Today is proof that when government works with purpose, public funds are transformed into opportunities that change lives.
Because of this, PUP President Manuel Muji expressed deep gratitude for the assistance given to the first and largest open university in the country.
Napakalaking halaga nito, napakalaking contribution nitong building ng Open University kasi malaki yung number ng mga students natin na naka-enroll sa Open University system.
The university president emphasizes vision for a university that can keep pace with the modern educational technology.
Because of the advent of technology, syempre mas kailangan nating mag-diversify na mga mode of learning. So ito na nga yung tinatawag nating distance education, ito yung Open University.
The PUP administration is now preparing for the opening of the new academic year for the new batch of the Open University students. Elijah Canlas For The Nation.
Authorities are investigating a deadly road accident in Antipolo City that left a young girl dead and several others injured. The Land Transportation Office has moved swiftly to look into the incident while reminding motorists to ensure their vehicles are roadworthy and safe for public use. We hear that report from our J.M. Thompson.
The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, immediately issued the show-cause order against the registered owner of the vehicle involved in the accident, which occurred on Sunday afternoon along Don Vicente Avenue, Barangay Cupang, Antipolo City. CCTV footage from the area shows the vehicle suddenly appears and continued straight toward the side of the road where pedestrians were walking. According to the driver of the vehicle, the brakes of the car allegedly failed, leaving her with no choice but to try to stop the vehicle, which eventually crashed into a post. Several pedestrians had no chance to get out of the way, and some of the victims were run over. A young girl was declared dead at the scene, who, according to reports, had just purchased school supplies in preparation for the opening of classes this week. Meanwhile, 5 other victims suffered injuries after being struck by the vehicle. The LTO has expressed its condolences to the family of the victim and hopes for the swift recovery of those who were injured. The agency also stressed that it will continue its strict monitoring and prompt response to incidents involving road safety. The suspect is under the custody of the Antipolo City Police Station and will face multiple charges. The LTO reminded motorists to exercise caution and ensure that their vehicles are in good working condition before taking them on the road. J.M. Thompson, for The Nation.
Region 11 and 12 are now under code red alert following a strong earthquake in Mindanao. According to BFP spokesperson Fire Superintendent Anthony Arroyo, more than 3,000 personnel of the Bureau of Fire Protection are in standby for humanitarian, rescue, and evacuation operations in the affected areas. The BFP also has activated the Emergency Operations Center at its national headquarters for closer monitoring and coordination with responders. The strongest impact of the earthquake was felt in Region 12, where search and rescue, retrieval, and clearing operations are still ongoing.
The province of Cagayan inaugurated its first Transition Learning Center, or TLC, at Tuguegarao West Central School, coinciding with the start of classes. As a primary priority for the institution, the facility is dedicated to providing services for learners needing special needs education, which is designed to be a safe, sufficient, and inclusive space for support and opportunities. The center is also set to function as a training center for students to learn basic life skills. In addition, the Department of Public Works and Highways confirmed the allocation of 10 million pesos in funding for the second phase of the project, which will be constructed at Tuguegarao Northeast Central Integrated School. 34 PUV drivers from the Baguio Plaza, Fairview, and vice versa route are among the beneficiaries of the Tupad Tuloy Pasada program of Dole Cordillera. According to one of the beneficiaries, the assistance is a big help, especially with the recent increase in fuel prices. The program officially started on June 8, providing support to more than 450 drivers in Baguio City during its first batch. Beneficiaries will receive over 8,000 pesos in assistance for 15 days of service, while the second batch of applicants is currently being processed. I'll give you the latest buzz here at Pop Culture Corner. First up, Chinese actress Zhang Yingfei expressed surprise at the popularity of her character Linda Walker outside China. She appeared on the morning show Unang Hirit, where she tried Filipino food, spoke a few Filipino words, and watched parody videos of her role. Yingfei placed the intelligent heroine in the viral microdrama The Heiress Who Won with Brains, praised for her cleverness and determination. The actress is in the Philippines to celebrate 51 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries and met Manila Mayor Isko Moreno. And South Korean actor Byung Moon-suk is returning to the Philippines for a fan meeting on October 10 at the Mall of Asia Arena. The event is part of The Secret Library Tour, which begins in Seoul this July. Moon-suk gained fame from dramas such as Record of Youth and Lovely Runner, and recently starred in the romantic comedy Perfect Crown. He is also set to headline Netflix's live-action adaptation of Solo Leveling. And singer-songwriter Sienna Spiro is set to return to the Philippines for a concert on January 9, 2027. As part of her My House tour, she will perform at the New Frontier Theater, according to local promoter Wilbros Live. Ticket pre-sale is scheduled to begin on June 16, while general ticket sales will open on June 18 through TicketNet. Spiro is widely known for her hit songs Die on This Hill and The Visitor, which have garnered millions of streams worldwide.
The countdown is on with just 10 days left before the much-awaited Asian Games qualifiers that will take place at the Resorts World Sentosa in Singapore. The elite MLBB teams from various countries will once again face off to showcase their skills, strategy, and courage in the quest for championship glory. The Cebol national team has already taken flight as the country's representatives for the upcoming Asian Games qualifiers. Excitement continues to build within the MLBB community as the high-stakes battle among the region's strongest teams draws near. The qualifiers are scheduled to take place from June 18 to 21 at Resorts World Sentosa in Singapore. The Philippine men's national football team successfully wrapped up its campaign in the Tri-Nation Friendlies after dominating Myanmar at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. The entire stadium erupted in a celebration as the PMNFT crushed Myanmar 5-1 to wrap up their campaign in the Tri-Nation Friendlies. Jefferson Tabinas initiated the Philippine team's attack by scoring the opening goal just 1 minute before the end of the first half, giving the squad a 1-0 lead. Coming into the second half, the younger Paul Tabinas doubled the advantage with a goal in the 54th minute, sparking a flood of goals for the Philippine side. The victory held special significance for the Tabinas brothers, who both registered goals in the same match for the national team. More than just a resounding win, the brothers also viewed their performance as a positive step in preparation for the 2026 ASEAN Championship set to take place next month.
And our food for thought tonight comes from Zig Ziglar, who was an American motivational speaker, author, and sales trainer, known for his teachings on character, success, and personal development. And he says, integrity gives you real freedom because you have nothing to fear since you have nothing to hide. And so goes PTV News Tonight's roundup of tomorrow's headline stories. I'm Sharms Espina.
I'm Jay Esteban. Join us again tomorrow on PTV News Tonight.